This is Alternative Political Analysis, and in this video we will answer the question, what is the alternative right? And Richard Spencer coined the term in 2008 in reference to Caucasian advocates and paleoconservatives. Richard Spencer is most noted for his Hail Trump speech in the Reagan Room. He is a Texan who resides in Wisconsin from time to time, and he was banned by Theresa May when the Prime Minister was the Home Secretary, and he was jailed by Viktor Orban, the leader of Hungary, who is ironically Richard Spencer's favourite European leader. He is the president of a think tank called National Policy Institute, which is linked to American Renaissance, the New Century Foundation, and Radix. And Richard Spencer is banned from the Schengen zone until 2018. And the alt-right fundamental principle and belief is that the Occident should have a Caucasian majority and a Caucasian cultural identity. Other core values of the alt-right include anti-Zionism, anti-Wahhabism, nativism, nationalism, traditionalism, and they would have Venn diagram overlaps with anti-feminists and male rights activism and Trump supporters. They are against demographic threat and demographic change. They are opposed to racist discrimination in affirmative action and positive discrimination policies. They are pro-European culture and pro-European nationalism. This brings us on to Jared Taylor, who is the founder of American Renaissance, a publication which he is the editor of and founded in 1990. He is an economist. He is a philosopher. He went to Yale. He's the author of 4 books on race, speaks English, French, and Japanese. He worked in West Africa, including countries such as Cote d'Ivoire and Liberia, and he founded the New Century Foundation in 1994. And this brings us on to the fact that he worked with Peter Brimelow of VEDAR, and Peter Brimelow is an Englishman who resides in America, and he named his publication VEDAR after Virginia Dare, the first English-speaking European born in the American colonies. Jared Taylor was also associated with the late Samuel Francis. And this brings us on to David Duke, and he was an imperial wizard of the Ku Klux Klan, and he was a member of the Ku Klux Klan from 1967 to 1980. He founded the National Association of the Advancement of White People in 1980. He called Ernst Zundel a political prisoner. Ernst Zundel was a man of Ashkenazi descent who was also a Holocaust denier, strangely. David Duke was a Democrat between 1975 and December of 1988. He served District 81 in the Louisiana House as a Republican between 1989 and 1992, passed a bill which would have outlawed racial discrimination in the legislature. However, it was vetoed by the governor of Louisiana. He joined the Reform Party in 1999, and Trump called him a racist, a bigot, a Klansman, and not the sort of person you want in your party. And that's ironic given more recent developments. In 1980, David Duke and Don Black worked on Operation Red Dog, which was an attempted coup against Dominica in order to overthrow Eugenia Charles and restore former Prime Minister Patrick John. In 1995, Don Black founded the Stormfront website where David Duke publishes articles. In 2000, David Duke met Nick Griffin at a British National Party seminar. David Duke marked William Pierce's death with the European Nationalist Gallery, an event which got Republican Representative Steve Scalise in trouble. And David Duke established the principles which he called the New Orleans Protocol: zero tolerance for violence, no enemies on the right, and the third one, which might explain their recent relative success, high-tone arguments and high-tone public presentations. And these principles are associated with Sam Dixon of the Conservative Citizens Council and John Tyndall of the British National Party, who had no problems with National Front violence and anti-Irish violence. It should be noted that David Duke is pro-Palestine, anti-Zionist and anti-neoconservative. He publicly addressed Syria under President Bashar al-Assad and the current al-Ba'ath government in Damascus. He has attended conferences in Ukraine, Sweden and Iran, including the time when Ahmadinejad was alleged to have said wipe Israel off the map, when in fact he actually said the Zionist regime will pass away with time. David Duke was also arrested in the Czech Republic in 2009 for associating with national resistance. The Prague district prosecutor dropped the charge on a lack of evidence. In 2013, Italy expelled Duke due to a Swiss Schengen ban. David Duke has had 4 publications. He has had 2 books authored and published, and he supported Trump's policies of securing border and deporting illegals. He said voting anyone but Trump was treason to our heritage, and that is ironic given what Trump said about him when Trump resigned from the Reform Party. And this brings us on to other alt-right beliefs and Ron Paul style libertarianism, individualism, free market economics, Catholic traditionalism, and darker beliefs include Holocaust questioning, Holocaust denial, and just anti-Jewish rhetoric and hate. And there's the numbers 1488. The 14 stands for 14 words. We must secure the existence of our people and a future for white children, a phrase coined by George Lincoln Rockwell of the American Nazi Party. The 88 stands for Heil Hitler, so they must support the policies of the German Workers' Party and their successor, the German National Democratic Party. And this brings us on to alt-right dog whistles, which include culture, which means race, Western civilization, which means white cultural identity, and then there's cuckold, which or cuck, or the portmanteau conservative, cuckolded conservative, or cucked conservative, which is a conservative pro-Zionist who promotes non-white interests over white interests. And this brings us on to other alt-right dog whistles: Dindu, Hillary, and Google. And this is for African American Clinton voters. Dindu comes from how African Americans say didn't do nothing, and the Google and Hillary comes from the fact that Google or openly and overtly endorsed Hillary Clinton and the Democrats. And this brings us on to Skittles and M&Ms, which is a reference to Muslims and Arabs, and basically in their analogy, Skittles and M&Ms are Muslims and Arabs, and basically the poisoned ones are Wahhabi terrorists. And this brings us on to Skypes and triple parentheses. Now, this is a reference to Ashkenazim Jews and Zionists, and the triple parentheses is to signify an echo, to highlight the fact that they are Zionists or Ashkenazim Jews. This brings us on to Yahoos, which is a reference to Hispanics, and butterfly is a reference to a homosexual male. Fish bucket is a reference to a lesbian, and dirtins are a reference to gender dysphoric people who have transitioned, i.e. like Tyler Durden in the film Fight Club. Bing is a person of Han or East Asian Oriental descent. And the funniest one of all, car salesman, which is a Democrat, because like with the car salesman, both of them will give you a great offer and lie about it, and it's only after you've bought the car or voted for the Democrat that you find out that the product and service is faulty. And this brings us on to alt-right figure Ramsey Paul and how he defines the ideology. He says it's about racial identity and national identity. He says it's about securing borders and regulating trade. Well, the regulating trade is welcome, and they support traditional gender roles. And another welcome policy is that they support a restrained foreign policy, which means non-interventionism, which is welcome considering the military, industrial, media and academic complex in America. The alt-right, according to Ramsey Paul, are pro-government but skeptical of democracy, which is ironic considering that there were alt-right supporters of Brexit. But never mind. And a list of outlets, publications, channels and websites which are alternative right or alt-right. The Right Stuff, the Occidental Observer, the Alternative Right blog, Red Ice, there's Radix, which as I said before is connected to the National Policy Institute, American Renaissance and the New Century Foundation. Other outlets include True Dollar Journal, there's the Australian Realist, there is Occidental Dissent, there's Countercurrents, the Atlantic Centurion, there's Dissident Right, there's Le Brigand, there's New Observer, there's America.org, America spelled with a K, there's White Resistor, there's Daily Stormer, there's Stormfront, there's Native Europeans, there's European Knights Project, and the Daily Ken. And this brings us on to why people turned to the alt-right, not just in the Trump election, but there was significant support for the Freedom Party in Austria. There were significant increases in support for Front National Alternative for Deutschland and the Freiheit Party in the Netherlands, but this is why certain people are attracted to this seemingly obscure ideology. Hate crimes against Caucasians are often not condemned, and this isn't just about Cologne or other recent events. And there is constantly hate speech against Caucasians, which again goes unpunished and uncondemned. There's a Canadian Broadcasting Corporation's Beige Part, where genres mazumder in a rap incites Caucasian genocide via the Coudenhove Kalergi method in a rap. But no one saw anything wrong with that at the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation, apparently. There's MTV 2017 Resolutions for White Men. So, music television not only hits the racist button, but they hit the sexist button as well. Fair enough. There's constant racism from Black Lives Matter, most notably Simone Sanders. And do you know how we know it's racist and that it's turning people to the alternative right? Jared Taylor of American Renaissance encourages Black Lives Matter to continue doing what they are doing. And there's the fact that people like Anna Marie Cox of MTV pretending working class Caucasian males get a good deal in the society of the United States of America, despite the tacit advice of Bill Maher and Trey Crowder. And other factors include Wahhabi violence, of course, and the issues, the real legitimate concerns and grievances about demographic threat and demographic change. And talking of legitimate grievances, there is the racist discrimination of affirmative action and positively discriminating in favour of non-whites. And that concludes this video.